Hey everybody, Ian here from the Board Game Barrister. And I just want to take a couple of minutes to talk about something that's been on my mind quite a bit recently. I have a daughter who is 4 years old, and we have been doing virtual schooling. So I know a lot of you parents out there probably are dealing with the same kind of thing. So I just wanted to kind of share some of my insight in how we've dealt with some of that virtual school learning challenges. The two biggest challenges I think that we've seen have been the social interaction and kind of like empathy of interacting with other kids. And you just don't get that when in a digital format. It's very much so a listen to a talking head teacher and do worksheets, right? And that brings me to the second piece of that is it's not easy for a kindergartner or even, any kid to stay focused on a repetitive schedule of, watch talking head for 30 minutes to an hour, then do worksheets all day long. For social interaction and empathy, I think storytelling is a big part of kind of standing in someone else's shoes. And role-playing really does that for you. Even if you're pseudo-playing yourself, you're still kind of acting out how you would react in situations. So we do story time before she goes to bed, and she gets to pretend that she is a character, and I kind of make up a story for her that her character is going to go through. Typically, because she's 4, she's usually the princess, but luckily she's usually a strong princess like Wonder Woman, or Captain Marvel or what have you, even Elsa, and she'll pretend that she's this princess, and I'll ask her, what's going on, and she'll give me, I'm in the castle, this, that, and the other, and I'll throw challenges at her that let her work through some of those, like, how that character would interact in those situations. There's a dragon that's at the city and captures a person, you got to go save him. So it's not necessarily like a role-playing game, but for her age, it really kind of builds that collaborative storytelling, which is what the core, for me at least, when I play role-playing games, is what I like about them, is the being able to sit at a table with other people and tell a story together. So if you have some older kids, you can use that, things like Dungeons and Dragons or other simpler RPGs to kind of work through some of that empathy and storytelling. The other thing that I think is a little bit challenging is, for younger kids especially, is them connecting their emotions to real life experiences. The Color Monster has been a huge game for us in our household. My daughter has, a little bit of anxiety when it comes to like trying to manage her way through some of the things she's feeling. So we've used this game quite a bit to try and, again, build her empathy and connect her emotions to something that happened to her in real life. So in the game, you play as a character, a little girl that's trying to go to sleep, and she has to kind of manage her emotions before she goes to bed. So it's a memory game where you move a character around, and every time you land on a spot, each color identifies a certain emotion, like happiness, sadness, anger, fear, love, etc. And when you land on one of those spaces, you have to tell a story about a time that you felt that emotion. So it takes something that they experience, and they're like, when I spilled my cereal this morning, I felt angry, or I felt sad. When my brother stole my toy, I felt angry. And then you talk to them about why that real life experience made them feel that way, and how they can work through that emotion to better understand the other perspective and put themselves in somebody else's shoes. So I think that's really kind of helped a bunch with how she hasn't gotten a lot of that social interaction and a lot of that empathy. She now can kind of put herself in those shoes. And granted, she's still 4, but I think that it's really kind of helped her put together a connection between emotions and real life stuff. So the other thing that I think is a huge challenge with the virtual learning is, if you know kids, and I'm sure a lot of parents out there do, it's really hard to keep them focused on anything. Their attention span is, between 5 minutes and 30 minutes at most. So trying to keep them focused on, again, a teacher for 30 minutes to an hour for a class, and then another hour to 3 hours of online worksheets is just, it's a challenge in and of itself. It's a hurdle that seems insurmountable, but I've kind of use some techniques to kind of mix up the day and change kind of how that feels. So I think that one of the things that has been huge is that during school, kids get fun time. I mean, there's recess for a reason, because they can't handle that constant workload. They just can't stay focused on it, and they don't retain any of the information. So what we've done is that every time, she completes a certain number of the online worksheets, we will play a game. And we'll play a game that sometimes involves what she's working on. For example, if she's working on numbers, we might play Puppy Up, which is a great little game that allows you to draw flashcards that have different math problems on them or different numbers on them for the younger kids, and they have to weigh out puppies versus weighted numbers on a scale, and it allows them to kind of interact with pluses and minuses by taking off puppies or putting on puppies, and it goes all the way through multiplication and division on these flashcards. So it's a pretty good game for scaling, learning math and numbers, but it feels super fun for the kid because they play with these cute little puppies and this scale that's really neat. But again, they're still learning about that thing that they're working on, whether it's the number 7 or what have you. So that's been a huge one for that. And then sometimes I play games where I intentionally want to turn the mind off. So a lot of games that involve, dexterity elements or up and moving type games have been hugely beneficial. For example, we play Narwhal Free-for-All, which is a ring-flinging game where you have floating narwhals in a pool of water and you're trying to land your colored rings onto your colored narwhals. Very fun, fast-paced, flinging around little plastic rings. There's water. We always put a towel down because otherwise, the whole living room will be wet. But again, it kind of lets her turn her educational brain off and get a little more on the fun side, which then recharges her to be able to go back and do another set of the worksheets or to do her next class that's coming up or what have you. So that's the second thing that we've been kind of doing to kind of stop the monotony of watch a person talk and then do worksheets. And it's been huge. I think it's been a big deal for her to stay focused on the time where it is education time, or learning time versus here's some fun time. And then the last thing that I think probably is one of the biggest ones that that games have done for my daughter. We've just started playing games last year when she was turned 3, and we've kind of worked through this year from 3 to now she's 4.5 now. And one of the biggest challenges that I had with playing competitive games with her was failure. Kids have a really hard time with managing their emotion of when they lose. They think that they're not good at it, so why would I play? I can't win, and they have this failure mode that they go into that you can't have it in life, so you need to be able to teach how to manage through that failure, and I think games really, really help with that. And we've played a lot of competitive games from Hiss to Snail Sprint and some other games that are just excellent for kind of teaching that, okay, you've lost, and she's changed from this immediate, I lost, I'm bad at this game, I don't want to play it anymore, to progressively getting her to, let's play another round, I can win next time, and let's go again, or let's restart. And that persistence through failure has evolved over this 1.5 years of playing games with her, that now every time we play games, we play at least 3 to 5 rounds of them, because we want to see, if she loses, she doesn't immediately go, I suck at this. She wants to get better. I've been a competitive person my entire life, and I really like that challenge to overcome it and to practice and perfect a technique. And I can see that evolving in her now, and I'm really excited that these games have allowed her to kind of work through that, because it'll help with other things like learning to ride a bike. Maybe you're learning a new skill. Having her learn that persistence early on is going to be really cool, and games have been instrumental in doing so. In conclusion, games have been this technique in all of the ways that I've talked about today to keep the fun in the day, and to help work through some of the social skills that are lacking because she's not with other kids in the classroom. If you're looking for some ways to kind of mix up your day with your kids and try and help them get through this virtual schooling, I really highly recommend that you mix in some games that either tie into the education that they're learning or even don't. Like maybe they're, like I talked about, the games that are just fun so that you can take a break from the learning and let the brain recharge. And if you're interested in any of the games that I talked about today, we'll have links to them below. Or if you want to talk to me or a live barrister, we have our virtual barrister chat available on our website. And we can kind of help you make some decisions on some games that might work for you and your family and your kids doing virtual school. Thanks again.